You're listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Ora dedzoni turin tu aina transmetim, programi doka fioja sa shpejti, shiujeni.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Larson. And there's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. I hope that you're having a wonderful start to your week. I mean, I am. I certainly am. I have a lovely collection of stories for you. Not lovely per se in their content, but lovely in their abundance. That's a good way to put it. Ladies and gentlemen, abundance has certainly been the word to describe the level of news we've had. If you could be hiding in a shipwreck at the bottom of Lake Superior, you could be hiding in a shack in the middle of the woods. You could be hiding in an RV that you like to drive around and, because you're evading law enforcement of some variety. You know what I mean? You could be hiding anywhere and you would not. It's just impossible. You wouldn't be able to avoid the level of news that has been spewing out of, once again, my home state of Minnesota. Ladies and gentlemen, we are, of course, going to cover the second Minneapolis shooting by ICE, resulting in a death. Details have come in, opinions have been determined, and we're going to talk all about it. So I'm not going to dilly-dally, I'm not going to waste your guys' time, but admittedly, it's a Monday. We're all feeling shitty as is. We're not feeling good about it. We're not feeling good about the situation that's brewing and boiling over. So I think we should, admittedly, if you want, you can skip forward a little bit because we're going to cover this story in literally less than 3, maybe 5 minutes. But I want to talk about something that is equally atrocious that I think needs to be addressed. And I think that you might agree with me on this front. Nostalgia baiting, ladies and gentlemen. I need to address this. I understand a lot of boomers, Gen Xers, people in the 40s, 50s, 60s ranges, they are former SNL actors. They maybe were on Parks and Recreation. Amy Poehler has one of the biggest podcasts available right now. They're getting new media. You know what I mean? Nick Offerman isn't making wooden birdhouse competition like TV shows anymore and movies about, I don't know, where he plays a coach or something. Amy Poehler is in the alternative media space now, and she actually won the Golden Globe. Unfortunately, for Best Podcast, I wasn't even invited. I would like to mention that. I understand maybe it's because we started our series in September. Maybe we weren't around long enough. I'll respect it, whatever. I hope I at least get an invite next year, but ladies and gentlemen, I probably won't because I'm being phased out by the Office Ladies Pod. This is a brand new podcast that is debuting, and it's from the brilliant minds of Jenna Fisher and Angela Kingsley. Is it Kingsley or Kingsbury? Kingsley. Okay, whatever. She plays Angela, and then Jenna Fisher played Pam, the love interest for what's his name? What's his name? John Krasinski. He did that positive show on during COVID that everybody liked, and then he sold it to China or something. I don't know. But the Office Ladies Pod, ladies and gentlemen, it is a atrocious bit that I would love to, I would love to share clips, but unfortunately I'd get copyrighted. So I just wanted to warn everyone that this is out there. They have debuted their first few episodes. Essentially, I'll break it down for you. This is part of a big issue that I think we need to address in this world called nostalgia baiting. Listen. I don't care if you were on Friends. I don't care if you were on Community. Literally my favorite television show of all time. I don't care if you were on whatever television show anytime, anywhere. If you are not telling me about how everyone behind the scenes was either fighting, like Chevy Chase, or like whatever on SNL, if you don't give me info about everybody doing coke, or if partying, or doing something interesting, if you don't bring anything juicy to the conversation, if you just go and you just tell me, oh, so-and-so was a real on-set practical joker, I'm not that interested, and I'm sorry. It's not, there's no substance. That's the way that the kids would say it. There's no meat and potatoes, as the old folks would say it. Listen, I listened to a few, I was able to get through maybe, I would say, a half hour collectively of clips of bits and pieces of other episodes because I hopped around a bit. The energy is two moms in their Gen X. Are they boomers? No, I think they're Gen X. They fall within that age range. Yeah, they were like 30 when the show was being made. Whatever. They are falling into the area of their lives where kids aren't, what's it called? The kids are, kind of, their kids are going to university. Their kids are either like still packing up for school and shit like that. Their kids are around, but they're not actively very present. And you know what I mean? When kids are in high school, they become a little rude. They start hanging out late at night. You know what I mean? They're not as majorly like Monopoly nights. They're not a thing anymore. I don't know how active and present their husbands are in their lives, you know what I mean? I don't know how held together the household is, but given the fact that they continue to live, you know what I mean, within the Los Angeles area, I'm just saying the Rob Reiner family household wasn't giving the Brentwood lifestyle a very good name for, family cohesion. All I'm saying is that they have a lot of time on their hands, let's put it that way. So I think they throw on some headsets, they get the microphone, and they go, let's talk nostalgia. And it's kind of like old friends just reminiscing about their job together, and except you get to be present for that. They don't comment on anything currently active in the time. They don't comment on like, fuck man, this Minneapolis stuff has really got me thinking. They don't comment on anything deep, meaningful. They don't say anything that is controversial. They're very cookie cutter, and that's okay. They're welcome to have that sort of broadcast. It appeals to a certain type of people. But I will just warn you that this is out there. These people will be stealing my seats. I will tell you that at the Golden Globes next year for Best Podcast. It sucks. It's going to happen. You have reason to be nervous. I have reason to be nervous. People like us are being phased out, ladies and gentlemen. I've had enough. I've had enough of discussing. I'm not going to be a doomer about it. I just want to have fun, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to have fun, but I think the fun is it's time to end because we have to talk about the serious shit. Why don't we get started, ladies and gentlemen? So first story music, play now. Oh shit, a second Minneapolis shooting by ICE resulting in death. As details have come in, opinions are being determined, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I saw the video myself. I saw multiple angles. I saw about 6 in total, if I had to estimate. Like 6 or... not. I'm not going to say 6 or 7. 5 or 6. I'll say that. Because it is on the lower end of the 6 estimate. But anyways, it's very clear to me. You can see one of the agents disarm the man. Obviously, very much a disorganized, not very well-trained cavalry. They don't communicate meaningfully. They don't say anything like, oh, I got his gun, or they don't say anything like that. Because they get 6 guys on him. They kick him in the head. They do a bunch of shit. This one was clearly just like the performative cruelty that we've covered and discussed in the past. That is, this one just took it too damn far. Very evidently, it's as we've determined, these are scare tactics. These are methods to get people nervous. These are methods to, because in all honesty, when you vote for mass deportation, I don't expect it to go smoothly, but goddamn, you expect it to go maybe a little bit. I crave the years of Obama. I crave the years of the deporter-in-chief, where we had a sheriff system, where there were millions of illegal immigrants that were, sent back home. And, that's admittedly, when I was a kid, that's where I formed my policy. I'm like, hey, I have family, I have relatives that, like, came here legally. They got the green card, they did everything properly, and I, wouldn't be here if it wasn't a result of immigration the proper way. However, I don't have sympathy for people who hop the fence. That's a nice way to put it, who don't get in line. So, during the Obama years, as a youngin', I kind of formulated my core policy around immigration, where I went, I don't love the idea of people cutting in line. I love it when people do it legally. And if you overstay your visa, I'm sorry, there's a degree of uncertainty to where we just don't have any tracks on you at this point. So I understand that if you've voted, especially as a bloc, for a sweeping action, there's going to be so much shit. You're going to arrest civilians sometimes. You're going to arrest people incorrectly. I expect that. I expect that wholly and entirely. And honestly, everybody else does. Liberal, conservative, you expect it. I think, though, that not everyone is thinking about, not everyone is concerned with the humanity, because admittedly, humanity was, that was the only principle during the Biden administration, which is exactly how we ended up with the mass layer of immigration. And I've had so many people dispute me on this. They've repeatedly said that the Biden administration did not, it had the largest amount and the highest recorded number of border crossings in the entire United States history. This is I'm going to compare it to just the past few administrations. Roughly recorded, this is by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. They recorded roughly 10.8 to 11 million nationwide encounters. This is 10.8 for the Biden administration, which is 21 to 24, compared to the Trump administration's 3 million and the Obama administration's 2.3. So, I mean, 2.3 in the Obama years, not that bad. We're doing okay. Trump administration, 3 million, we can excuse things. There's things going on, you know what I mean? The border level increasing. I understand they promised to be harder on it, but admittedly, we had rougher numbers there. The Biden administration jumps it by 7 million. I mean, at this point, the numbers are not really arguable at this point. It's kind of a losing horse for a lot of Democrats to defend the Biden administration's open border policy. It's just not a good idea. It's not a great idea. Border czars in general they've never had an easy job. They've never had it's difficult to decide whether or not you want the circular flow movement, or you want because then it's difficult to track people. It's difficult to keep a number on whether or not they've committed crimes. You know what I mean? If we're just letting you in to do a job here and there, whatever. Over the weekend, a lot of stuff has happened, and a lot of people are nervous, a lot of people are worried, and they have a right to be. Minneapolis, Minnesota, highly controversial incident has unfolded, man. A man was shot and killed by federal agents Saturday morning in the Whittier neighborhood of South Minneapolis, setting off hours of confrontation between protesters and law enforcement. Sources familiar with the investigation told the Minnesota Star-Tribune that the man killed was Alex Jeffrey Pretti, Pretti. He was 37. He attended the University of Minnesota and lived in South Minneapolis. Witnesses say Pretti was shot multiple times and taken to the hospital after CPR was performed at the scene. A video recorded moments before the shooting shows Pretti confronting a federal agent. As Pretti records a person being shoved by an agent, Pretti interferes with the agent, who is shown pushing a person to the ground. The agent then sprays Pretti in the face with a chemical irritant, throws him to the ground. Another video of the shooting from inside the Glam Doll Donuts on Nicollet Avenue shows 4 agents across the street wrestling Pretti to the ground. Several more agents approaching and attempting to hold him down. One agent is shown in the video hitting him with an object 3 times as the others pin him down. One gunshot is heard and agents back away as a series of additional ones can be heard and other agents who have unholstered their firearms. Pretti is then shown to be lying flat on his back and unresponsive. This is, the Department of Homeland Security said that the man was armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun with 2 magazines. The agency had not publicly identified the man who was shot at the time. At 9:05, the DHS said on X, federal agents were conducting targeted operations for someone wanted for violent assault when the man approached U.S. Border Patrol officers. DHS said agents attempted to disarm the man, but he, quote, violently resisted. Quote, fearing for his life, the lives and the safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but they were pronounced dead in the scene. Minneapolis chief, man, this is from the Minnesota Star-Tribune. I went ahead and I got a page out of it, just to read for you guys. Admittedly, you watch the video, you go, okay, I can see the agents. They grab one of them, the guy in the gray, grabs the gun. Not a second later, they fucking. It literally is probably a second later. They start the fucking, and then he's dead. Listen. there's no, in my mind, defense for this action. You had him unarmed, you had him, and admittedly, had he a permit to carry in Minnesota, thank God, in the beautiful state of North Dakota, with the city of Fargo, Bismarck, all those areas, in those areas, if you live there, you don't need a permit to carry, apparently. Hey, this is not legal advice, look it up, this is just according to legal advice that I've gotten from other people. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is just, it's shaken up the state even more. The man was a U.S. citizen. Governor Walz is blasting ICE, and he's saying enough is enough. The Trump administration, they're saying they're reviewing everything about the shooting. I mean, everything? Let's take a look at this.
Of silence at the Minnesota Timberwolves game last night in honor of 37-year-old VA nurse Alex Preddy. In the wake of his fatal shooting by Border Patrol agents Saturday, local and federal officials today are preparing to square off in court.
I am deeply concerned about the preservation of evidence, which is why we went to court last night.
Today, state officials will ask a judge to extend a restraining order, banning federal authorities from altering evidence related to Preddy's shooting. They'll also try to convince a judge to halt the deployment of federal agents.
You need something to prevent them from tampering with evidence? I thought that was just illegal.
Into Minnesota after 3 shootings in 3
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Including the killing of Renee Good on January 7th. In a new interview, President Trump says his administration is now reviewing everything related to Preddy's shooting and suggests he's open to withdrawing immigration officials from Minnesota, saying,
Nice.
At some point, we will leave. We'll leave a different group of people there for the financial fraud. Trump has pointed to a welfare fraud scandal in the state as a rationale.
All right, so he's pulling back. So listen, you didn't get what you wanted out of it. You didn't get what you planned to by sending in a large population of people. So this was ultimately just like for show. This was all for show. This was all in order to get a few moments for TikTok so that you can show, hey, we're beating the fuck out of that one lady, that Marge lady from Fargo, and now we're detaining all the Somalis she was hiding in her basement. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. You're not going to find very many of them. I'm sure there's a few. I'm sure there's a few people that were hiding Somalis in their attic. I don't think that it was every person on Nicollet Avenue. So listen, I think that this is. Once again, I think it's the Trump administration not being able to decide whether or not they want to be full reviewist, you know what I mean? And listen, if you're going to be full reviewist, I think it should be orderly. I think it's like door to door. Hey, go to people and, we have to review actual cases. If you have documents, if you have real investigatory evidence where you're like, okay, shit, I think that we have a Canadian up there who's living. We have evidence that some of his neighbors, they talk about him, whatever. And then you do a targeted investigation, which admittedly, a lot of these have been. And I don't think a lot of people want to admit that ICE has been doing their job in a lot of these cases. Admittedly, they have been doing their job removing the illegal immigrants because there have been quite a few, and there has been a spike that we have to remove as a result of the last 4 years. And the last 8 before that, and I am not going to argue that other administrations let in, but also... that's not arguable. You know what I mean? There needs to be a cleansing of sorts. There needs to be an absolute review. Like the census isn't enough. You need to go neighborhood by neighborhood. You have to make sure that people who are living here are properly documented. This is not crazy. You can do this on the local level. We've done this in the past. It's not hard to do to verify your population. It's not hard to do in a community where everybody knows each other. Naturally, if you don't know who the sheriff is and you're not connected to the community, you're just kind of like an individualist. You're not a person who gets to know anybody. You're kind of like what is the term? A shut-in. Like a person who's just like, nope, community, anything like that, I'm good. And admittedly, I have those traits. That's part of me. You know what I mean? I sit at home. I'd rather sit at home than go argue with people at the town hall that they're hosting in the church. You know what I mean? I'd rather sit at home, and everybody else would rather. So I'm not shaming anybody. Do what they do. It's America. That's the beauty of it. You can sit at home and watch this all decay, or you can do something. And I think just like me, a lot of us would rather just kind of sit and watch, because that's why we're watching this.
Now for ramping up immigration enforcement. Protesters gathered in cities across the country yesterday, none bigger than in Minneapolis, where multiple vigils for Preddy were held. Border Patrol officials say the shots were fired Saturday while they were conducting a targeted operation for a man in the country illegally. They claim Preddy approached agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun along with 2 magazines and said agents trying to disarm
It was holstered, but that's not important, I guess, to mention.
him, but he violently resisted. But the video does not appear to back up those claims.
When someone makes the choice to come into an active law enforcement scene, interfere, obstruct, delay, or assault law enforcement officers, and they bring a weapon to do that, that is a choice that individual made.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the officers fired defensive shots.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Video from the scene shows Preddy trying to help a woman who had been surrounded by agents. He appears to be holding a phone before he's shoved by a federal officer, pepper sprayed and pulled into the street, which he appears to resist. 3 officers appear to grapple with Preddy. 1 agent appears to repeatedly hit him. Another appears to draw a handgun, while yet another agent can be seen removing a gun from Preddy's waistband. Graphic video then shows an officer firing several shots as Preddy falls to the ground. Vice President J.D. Vance blames local leaders for the shooting, saying they have created the chaos so they can have moments like yesterday, where someone tragically dies and politicians get to grandstand about the evils of enforcing the border. Administration officials say protesters have attacked agents multiple times, locking agents.
All right, I'd love to make an argument for this. This man, he was not, whatever. You can make an argument that maybe he shouldn't have pushed the lady out of the way of the ICE agent's grasp, all that sort of stuff. Maybe he shouldn't have gotten in the way of anything. Sure, absolutely. He generally wasn't resisting. At a certain point, when they wrestled him away from that girl and whatnot, it seemed as though that you can't say, oh, this man, he looked like he was grappling. He looks like he was grappling for his gun. Doesn't look like it or appear to be so in any of the angles that I've seen. And, cross that with a generally pretty untrained police force, militia, essentially, I respectably, at the very best, dads with a lot of time on their hands. Their kids hate them. Their wives are very absentee. There's not a lot of love in the home, except for, there's not a lot of eyes. There's not a lot of love in the eyes of the people at our home. The most love and the most connection they get is out of, like, the deer on their wall. And they're like, that is the most love. These glassy things is the most love that I get out of this household. And unfortunately, it's either that or it's 20-somethings. And there's nothing wrong with being 20-something, but 20-somethings that, admittedly, they power, it feels a certain way. There are certain people, okay, I'm not going to say that all ICE agents are this, because they're not, admittedly. There are some people who care a lot about immigration and customs enforcement. There are some people that can understand that America is a country where we need to enforce the border. And also there are some people that understand the money's really, really good. There's a lot of people that understand that, hey, a contract with the federal government, if I don't smoke weed, if I just avoid, if I keep my nose clean and I, just throw people in a van for a couple times a day, then the pay's pretty good. So listen, ICE is a vast coalition of a lot of people. And admittedly, there are some people out there that are going to look for the first opportunity to yank the gun that they were handed after a 45-minute a presentation about firearm safety. Like, here's safety. Here's, you click the magazine in, boom, boom, and then they hand it over, and then it's chill. Listen, that's how it happens, and I don't know what else it sucks.
At a restaurant, and even allegedly biting off part of an agent's finger.
Yikes.
Local officials in Minnesota say, similar to the Renee Good shooting case, federal authorities have blocked them from accessing the scene of Preddy's shooting. In Washington, a top Republican in the House now says President Trump should consider pulling ICE out of Minnesota.
They've been considering that for the longest time, by the way. The Trump administration, by the way, was never going to be able to deliver on the numbers they promised. They said it would be millions a year. They said we'd have millions of these goddamn illegals out by the end of the year. It was 605,000 by the end of the year. Not very many. And then they're like, fuck, we got to do something. All right, let's target specific cities. Let's fucking make real good Twitter moments out of it. And maybe if we end up killing somebody, that's collateral damage, admittedly. That's collateral damage. What are we supposed to do?
The killing of
Alex Preddy by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis.
What we're seeing on TV is causing deep concerns over federal tactics and accountability.
Senator Bill Cassidy calling the situation disturbing, writing the credibility of ICE and DHS are at stake. Senator Lisa Murkowski adding, ICE agents do not have carte blanche in carrying out their duties. Others taking issue with how quickly the Trump administration made an assessment, labeling Preddy a domestic terrorist without providing any evidence.
I mean, I hate bikers too. This guy was a biker, you know what I mean? He was also a nurse and whatnot. I'm not saying I have an issue with the nurses. Admittedly, some of them are killers that will, like, kill babies or whatever, but it's a small percentage. It's not all of them. It's actually very, very, very few. But bikers, I get it. But he wasn't even in his biking uniform. I hate bikers, and I will take the first excuse to pull it off my waistband and go like in old movies. Yeah, I'll do that myself. But listen here, I'm just kidding. This is a joke. This is satire. What I'm trying to say is, he wasn't even dressed like a biker, so I don't see the excuse.
John Mitnick, who served in President Trump's first term and helped establish the Department of Homeland Security, criticizing the agency, saying, I'm enraged and embarrassed by DHS's lawlessness, fascism, and cruelty. But top Trump officials continue to double down. FBI Director Kash Patel suggested it is illegal to bring a gun to a protest.
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple.
Bro, excuse you, Kyle Rittenhouse, he proved that you can. You can come to excuse you. We have something in this country called a legal standard, and we preach against something called double standard. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make it clear. I think that the case of Kyle Rittenhouse established that if you're just carrying around an AR-15 for your protection, this is for my safety, then clearly, as established by the courts of Wisconsin, Kenosha, this where that happened, as established by the courts of Wisconsin, it's perfectly reasonable, within a person of a reasonable mind, to drive to a state that they do not live in, I believe so, because I believe that he lived somewhere else, to a city they do not live in, at the very least, and to brandish a firearm they do not own, that they are not old enough to carry, at least, the law around it is messy without parental supervision and whatnot. And, the details of the case are what hinged on that, and whatever. As was clearly established, the law around that is messy. I think that he was perfectly within his rights as, like, a protester. Yeah, if the Kyle Rittenhouse case is Rittenhouse v. Wisconsin, if that's clearly meant to be the dogma, the establishment.
President Trump telling the Wall Street Journal he doesn't like any shooting, adding, quote, but I don't like it when somebody goes into a protest and he's got a very powerful, fully loaded gun with 2 magazines loaded up with bullets also. That doesn't play good either. It's a stark contrast to what many Republicans, including the president, had to say about Kyle Rittenhouse, seen here carrying an assault-style rifle through Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020.
Now I feel like a douchebag agreeing with ABC News. Listen, whatever, it's fine.
Before
they make good
fire,
points.
Killing 2 men. He was acquitted on the charges. President Trump called him a very nice young man. Minnesota officials say Preddy was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry, a right protected under the Second Amendment. Republican Congressman Thomas Massey posting, carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. It's a constitutionally protected God-given right. The NRA even speaking out, posting, responsible public voices should be awaiting a full investigation, not making generalizations and demonizing law-abiding citizens.
Fuck yeah.
Predecessors calling for it all to stop.
Listen, I love the NRA because they stand with gun owners. No matter what color you are, no matter how goofy your name sounds, if you love the Second Amendment, well, goddamn it, you're one of us.
Former President Barack...
That's a real coalition, by the way. That's a real coalition. Democrats, Republicans, understand that. Look at the NRA. That's a real coalition of motherfuckers who love each other. That's family. That's community.
Obama said the shooting should be a wake-up call to every American. And former President Bill Clinton stating, at every turn, the people in charge have lied to us, told us not to believe what we've seen with our own eyes.
That's a lot coming from Bill Clinton.
And over on Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats are now trying to take a stand, saying they will oppose a Department of Homeland Security funding bill that could lead to a partial government shutdown by the end of the week, which means TSA agents and FEMA response would be impacted. But
no!
Do nothing to stop the $75 billion that Republicans have already passed and allocated toward funding ICE.
Well, man, I mean, yeah. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. If ice might be in your city, I know that they already hit my hometown. It's fine. The Mexican restaurant they chased out of town wasn't even that good, admittedly. And if they were hiding illegals, bye bye. As they say in some country, sayonara. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Or does Detroit Lakes have a door? Or Fergus Falls? They don't have a door, but they don't let the goofy sign that all Minnesota towns have hit you on your way out. I'm sorry. I love to see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an ad that I want to read for you because I got to make some money here. Ladies and gentlemen, are your poll numbers sagging because you promised a historic purge, but realized that the actual logistics are just expensive and the legalities are a drag? Introducing performative cruelty, the new revolutionary campaign strategy from the Department of Homeland Security. Why go through the bureaucratic nightmare of deporting millions when you can just deport 300,000? Make it look like a Michael Bay movie, you know what I mean? With our patented optic-first logistics, we focus 90% of our budget high-definition body cams and 10% on actual processing. We don't enforce the law. We content create it, ladies and gentlemen. Our elite units are now trained in TikTok tactical maneuvering, a high-energy sequence where our agents execute routine administrative removals to the upbeat tempo of the Pokemon battle theme, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the likes pour in from the base as we use excessive theatrical force on a single delivery driver, while a wild, undocumented worker appeared graphic flashes across the screen. It's bold, it's brash, and it's completely distracting from the fact that our actual deportation stats are lower than the previous administrations. With performative cruelty, you aren't just securing the border, you're winning the For You page. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I can't wait to I might buy this for myself, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even president yet, but I might hook this up for my next administration. Let's just jump into the next story. I'm done wasting everybody's time. Oh, the winter storm that we discussed last week, folks. It has impacted over 200 million Americans from New Mexico to New England. Wow, all of the news. I mean, we have white culture and brown culture affected here, ladies and gentlemen. New Mexico to New England. We are looking at a weather system of a truly historic proportion today. We are saying that 200 million Americans, they're in the path of what we're talking about is roughly 60% of the United States population feeling the impact of a single storm. This isn't just like local dusting or anything like that, like misting. You wake up in your car, you got to scrape it off with that goddamn thing because there's the crystal effect on it. This is a massive atmospheric corridor, freezing temperatures and precipitation stretching over 2,000 miles from the high deserts of New Mexico all the way across the rocky coasts of New England. The daily routines of millions are being affected and being put on ice, ladies and gentlemen. We got, not ICE, the deportation agency. We're done with that story. We have CNN giving us a live look into, what is this? I don't know. They're going to tell us.
Take a look at this live look at Dallas from our affiliate KTVT. Near Pittsburgh, the heaviest snow is yet to come, but forecasters say some areas could see a foot of snow before the storm tapers off tomorrow.
Damn.
This is what people awakened to this morning in Austin, Texas. Ice and snow blanketing the city as the worst of the storm blew through the region overnight. In Florence, Alabama, first responders found themselves in need of help. Their fire truck slid off the ice-covered road. No one was hurt, and an industrial tow team was able to pull it free. In the south, freezing rain has been the big problem. This is Clarksville, Tennessee. The state has seen more than half an inch of ice, causing widespread power outages. Indeed, across the U.S. right now, more than 900,000 homes and businesses are without power.
Damn.
Tennessee makes up almost a third of that. We're following all these late-breaking developments of this very, very dangerous monster storm. CNN's Gloria Pazmino is on the scene for us in New York. Right now, CNN meteorologist Allison Chinchar is over at the CNN Weather Center.
God, is it just me or is Wolf Blitzer losing a lot of the power behind his voice? I think he's just getting old. Maybe that's just me. Man, they got this lady on the ground. She's like reviewing people shoveling their driveways. There's 200 million people that have already been affected. We're looking at a widespread of a variety of ways, like flight cancellations, potential power grid failures due to ice buildup. dangerous flash freeze conditions on the roads. You know what I mean? These people, they're not used to winters. They're not used to more than a foot of snow or anything like that. Emergency services from the Rockies all the way to the Atlantic are on high alert as the temperatures are dropping. If you are anywhere within that 2,000-mile stretch, the message is clear from all of your government people. You know what I mean? Stay off the roads if possible. Keep your devices pretty charged, as the storm is expected to linger well into the weekend. So that's not exciting for you if you live within that region, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at this clip from ABC News, why don't we?
We do begin with that massive and deadly winter storm. More than 200 million Americans are facing heavy snow, sleet, freezing rain, and dangerously cold air. The storm is causing unprecedented travel disruptions. More than 11,000 flights were canceled today alone. In this Kentucky neighborhood, freezing rain is coating roads with sheets of ice. And across the South, more than 1 million Americans are without power. And this was the scene of a pileup after a crash on a Missouri State highway. A truck on top of a car. We'll have more on Minneapolis in a moment, and Lee Goldberg is standing by with the forecast. But first, ABC's Janae Norman leads us off from Boston, a city that could get more than 20 inches of snow. Janae.
They have this poor woman standing out in the snow. She's in a blue, a little North Face jacket or something. She's got a white puffball hat. And they've got her standing in the snow. It's up to her knees. It's tragic. This is horrific.
Lindsay, it is a nasty storm. We are here in Boston along the northern edge of this nearly 2,000-mile-long monster storm.
This black lady is getting, it's so snowy outside, she is hidden in the white. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so snowy out there.
The wind is blowing. This snow is still coming down, and it is forecast, Lindsay, to continue falling through tomorrow morning.
Damn.
Tonight, a colossal winter storm stretching from New Mexico to Maine, bringing heavy snow, sleet, and freezing rain. More than 200 million people impacted by the monster storm and frigid temperatures. At least 20 governors declaring a state of emergency.
We're New Englanders. We're tough, right? I mean, we're used to snow, we're used to ice. We weather it all. Visibility's going to be terrible. So stay off the roads.
More than 11,000 flights canceled today, already 2,000 for tomorrow. Washington's Reagan National reporting airlines canceled all today's scheduled flights. The historic winter storm wreaking havoc on highways. Icy roads causing multiple semi-trucks to jackknife off roads in Mississippi. This delivery truck careening into the median on Interstate 22. The freezing
It's an Amazon truck, so it's fine.
Temperatures coating power lines in thick ice. More than 1 million customers without power across the South. Our Victor Okendo in Nashville.
Look at these idiots. They're busting up these people have never heard in their life of, the melting ability of sand or salt, because they're busting up their driveway by slamming the sharp end of their, it's one of those fancy snow shovels too, where clearly this woman, she went to a nice little department store, and she was like, "Oh, Bob, it says that this guy," well, no, it's because she's in Tennessee. "Oh, Bob, this goddamn," I can't do a southern accent right now. I'm so high I can't do a southern accent. "Oh, Bob, it's gonna be bad. I gotta get that goddamn, nice snow shovel with the metal piece. It's got the metal piece over the front so that it, helps cut into the snow. You're busting up your driveway, lady.
Nashville.
It's gonna look like
this
shit."
Is the James Robertson Parkway, a main thoroughfare in Nashville. These trees that line the parkway, frozen. All of this ice weighing down these limbs, bringing them crashing onto the road.
Up and down the East Coast, an urgent effort is underway on millions of miles of roadways. Our Alex Perchet is in Virginia.
Here in Virginia, we have seen emergency crews like this working around the clock to keep these roads clean. The Virginia Department of Transportation says they have 129,000 miles of road to deal with.
In the Northeast, Boston and parts of New England bracing for close to 2 feet of snow.
Yikes.
Philadelphia and New York getting more snow than they've seen in several years. Some areas seeing that snow now turning to sleet. Winds in New York City gusting over 30 miles per hour at times. More than 2,500 city sanitation workers working around the clock to clear the streets. Mayor Mamdani telling New Yorkers to stay home and offering his deepest condolences to the families of the 5 people found dead outside. Mamdani saying their deaths are being investigated.
And Lindsay,
I will say, hey, how's the housing reform? I thought that he said that he'd have the homeless people off the streets the moment that he was mayor. But apparently these people are outside freezing into literally to death. It's that one scene from Scrooge. He went and found the homeless guy. It's horrific. There's already been multiple deaths that have been reported.
Overnight, the massive storm that stretched from New Mexico to New England, impacting nearly 200 million Americans, unleashing heavy snow and freezing rain. A private plane carrying 8 people crashing after takeoff from Bangor, Maine.
Aircraft upside down. We have a passenger aircraft upside down.
A security camera capturing the sound of the crash from 5 miles away. No confirmation overnight if there were survivors. Parts of New England seeing snowfall rates of up to 2 inches per hour.
Well, it's upside down. What the fuck are you even saying? No confirmation if there was any survivors.
Causing low visibility, though the exact cause of the plane crash remains unclear. More than 12,000 flights were canceled nationwide Sunday. Cancellations and delays will linger through this week.
I've been stuck here and I'll be stuck here for 2 more days.
Travel on the roads coming to a halt. Icy conditions causing multiple semi-trucks to jackknife here in Mississippi. This delivery truck slamming into the median. Vehicles littered on this highway in Missouri. Up and down the East Coast, first responders helping drivers stuck in the snow. The storm bringing down trees and power lines.
These trees that line the parkway, frozen. All of this ice weighing down these limbs, bringing them crashing onto the road.
Across the South, crews are rushing to clear trees from roads. One man recovering after this massive ice-covered tree fell on his car in Atlanta. People warned to stay off the roads. Over concern, the streets will remain frozen for this morning's commute. More than 1 million power outages have been reported across 11 states.
We're going to have to stay at a friend's house who's got heat. We don't have anything.
That poor girl, she looks terrified. That dad, I'm sorry, you can see it in some people's eyes. He has the shoe nice eyes, where it's kind of, they look dead by either years of eating shit that you shouldn't eat, or just like, engaging in gluttonous, gross behavior that you shouldn't. He's got this just kind of, it's a deadness in the eyes. And his poor daughter is like, we're gonna go over to fucking Aunt Billy's again, or Uncle Billy, I'm retarded. She's like, I feel horrific. This is awful.
Causing plumbing problems at this hotel in Oklahoma, part of the ceiling collapsing. In Louisiana, the frigid weather turning deadly. 2 men died due to hypothermia. In New York City, at least 6 deaths are linked to the conditions. Parts of the Northeast seeing the highest snowfall in 4 years. Parts of Massachusetts bracing for up to 2 feet of snow. A woman near Boston was killed after a snowplow backed into her.
My biggest message is, please take it seriously. Stay off the roads. And check in on your neighbors.
I thought you said to stay off the roads. Why would I check on my neighbors if you told me to stay off the roads? Are they, do they want me to die? I'm just saying that there's, a lot of conflicting information. I don't know. Stay inside. I think the people that died in Louisiana, that they were people in the bayou or whatever. They were going ain't no snow ever been down here in my lifetime. And then they found them in their hunting shack frozen out next to an alligator or something. That's it's unfortunate. It sucks, but if you're within the area that's affected by it, don't check on your neighbors. I'm advising you actively not to check on your neighbors. I'm advising you actually to cut yourself off, to actually to hovel, to get in your little area that you're gonna hide in. Go to your job, do what you got to do to get money, but support your family and turn into hermits. That's probably the best way to survive the winter. And a lot of people, we've kind of forgotten that energy, the world is so connected. We always have to know what our neighbors are up to. No, you don't. You have the option. You actually could be a hermit if you want. Being a hermit's a perfectly reasonable option. I don't think enough people choose it, quite frankly, in modern society. Whatever. We're covering bullshit. I think we should just go ahead and jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines, because there's a lot of stuff you need to know about to keep your media diet healthy. Stuff that I can't dedicate a couple paragraphs to, so I'm just going to wrap it. I'm going to throw a couple stories at you that you need to know about. U.S. federal immigration shooting, it's sparking a lot of national outrage, as we've already covered. Washington Post has put out a thing about how former President Obama, he's called it a wake-up call. Both parties are demanding investigations. I agree. This one, unlike the Renee Good, where Renee Good, her intent doesn't really matter. It's more on the police's discretion about whether or not he believed his life was at danger. There's arguments to be made. I think that he could. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. This one is very, very clearly at least second degree. I think you could charge maybe at least 3 of the officers with. I think at least the one that pulled the trigger. Whatever. NATO chief is warning also that Europe needs U.S. support. The Secretary General Mark Rutte is bluntly telling the European leaders that Europe cannot defend itself without the U.S. military backing. He's criticizing notions of European strategic autonomy and urging the greater defense spending amid the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Unfortunately, and a lot of people don't want this to be true, America is still the only superpower in the world currently. It's the only one that's meaningfully controlling anything. China may be coming for us. They're going to control the next century, but at least we have the rest of this one. You know, maybe by 2050 they'll have control. We have 25 years at the very least where we're still at the seat of power after we defeated the Soviets. This ride has been pretty good, admittedly, guys. You have to admit, Temu and Shein and all these websites and whatnot that we're getting the benefit of all these trade negotiations with China, opening it up with Nixon in back in the 70s. We're reaping the benefits of it right now, but China is slowly growing behind the scenes as this economic power that's going to eventually supersede us and take everything, and they're going to be the world currency. They're going to control the world via their shipping routes and whatnot. Actually, one of the inadvertent things that we may have not considered when we went ahead and took Maduro, which I was fully in support of. I actually have no issue with the idea that we depose this guy. One of the things we do have to admit, though, is that we have encouraged the idea of a sphere of influence. Sphere of influence, if people are not familiar with geopolitical terms, is the idea that you, as the superpower of a certain region, call Donald Trump. He said that the United States' hemisphere of influence, their sphere of influence, is the Western Hemisphere, meaning that that entire area from North America to South America is within American interest to where military action can be justified in certain regions. That's why he's making deals with Argentina and everything. Inadvertently, though, when we say that spheres of interest exist and they're real, we are inadvertently making a minor justification. We're making a minor justification. We don't even realize it for Russia to have a sphere of influence, then justifying some layers of the Ukrainian deals. You know what I mean? Annexing certain regions, Donbass. They have reasons for their negotiations to have legitimate claim over certain areas of Ukraine now with the sphere of influence argument. China will take this opportunity now. I think that it's within maybe the next 2 years they make a move on Taiwan. It's very easy to say for them, hey, Taiwan falls within the Chinese sphere of influence. It's very important that we establish some level of control over it. All I'm saying is that that's a level of geopolitical chess that we were not really thinking about when we made this move. It's something that we're going to have to reckon with within the next few coming years. Like I said, I think it was only a matter of time with China and Taiwan. I think that they've made it very clear that they were going to take it regardless of our actions with Venezuela. I just think that inadvertently may have given a green light, you know what I mean, to Xi Jinping, who admittedly is older and he wanted to resolve the Taiwan issue in his lifetime. So this was coming within the next few years regardless. Whatever. Venezuela is also facing ongoing political prisoner issues. The families of Venezuelan political prisoners are waiting for the release of some, despite the recent freeing, with critics saying the government's slow pace is meant to appease the United States while retaining control. Whatever. They can have their own issues. It's not my country. It's unfortunate if they're not going to see their family members. I don't know what else to say. There's a major UK political realignment also. Braverman defects. The ex-UK Home Secretary Suella Braverman defected from the Conservative Party to the Reform UK, triggering a controversy after a party briefing on her mental health was withdrawn. Her move is shaking up the right-wing politics ahead of the upcoming elections. It seems, and I'm going to make another interesting call. I've already made the call that China will eventually annex Taiwan. Unfortunately, whatever you feel about that, in my opinion, Taiwan doesn't even really know how to feel about its own sovereignty. So I'm like, kind of fuck it at this point. Like, whatever. If China wants to take it, it's Chinese. Whatever. I'll call it that. I understand that they might not want it for their own reasons, but whatever. But also the president is willing to work within the confines that China sets and whatnot. So sovereignty is really debatable at this point. If they keep it within that framework, I doubt the Taiwanese people will have anything to say about it. And let's be honest, they, like, the majority of them support some layer of what the arrangement they have now. Whatever. You don't need to know a lot about Taiwan. You don't need to know a lot about that. We'll cover it in a future episode eventually when they annex it. Trump is deploying the border czar to Minnesota amid the crisis. He's sending his border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis after the immigrant agent's shooting intensified clashes between federal and state officials with legal challenges underway over federal overreach. I mean, that kind of sucks. These stories are all really, really intense. There's a few more that we could review, but I'm going to intersperse a pretty light one. The sauna industry in the United States is heating up. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to make my feelings on this very clear. Saunas are a beautiful thing alone. Once you have increased the occupancy to 2 or more, it's officially one of the gayest things ever invented. Doesn't matter if you are family, doesn't matter if you're cousins, doesn't matter if you're like whatever. Once a sauna reaches the occupancy of 2 plus, it's gay. It's the gayest thing ever invented. It doesn't matter if it's a man and a woman in there. As a matter of fact, that somehow makes it gayer. I don't know what else to say except for that it's a breeding ground for the disease, for foot viruses, for infections, for like athlete's foot. There's just gross men going in there to sweat. And it's not all men. It's not all men. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see a real dog in there. But what I'm trying to say is that men are the most common users of it, where you go, oh, your body is just fully on display. This is kind of the gayest thing I've ever seen. But also, you are gross to the point where you don't justify showing it off. You know what I mean? So saunas are one of the grossest things ever invented, but apparently the United States is having a growing obsession with them. I don't know why. Apparently people think it's going to make them look younger. It's not.
The U.S. sauna industry is heating up. According to market research firm Technavio, the U.S. sauna sector is expected to grow by $151 million between 2025 and 2029. And the shift comes as Americans jump on wellness trends, look for fitness alternatives, and turn to bathhouses for socializing.
For socializing. You know what this is code for? For sex parties. Americans are gathering at Korean bathhouses where they realize, ooh, this is the first taste of Korean culture where Americans, like, if you're like pro-nudist or whatever and you've been hiding it your entire life, you can flirt with it. You can go like, oh my God, I can actually go somewhere where it's publicly acceptable to be naked in front of people and whatnot. And some people, they'll use that to this is sick. This is sick and this needs to be stopped. We need to have a law against this.
Eric Kilby joins us now. He's the chair and interim president of the North American Sauna Society. Thank you for being...
This dude's a freak, by the way. Look at how his collar's unbuttoned. He's like, I know I'm in a suit right now, but I just want to rip this shit off, and we got to crank up the temperature in here because, lady, I know that you and me, we could be talking on such a deeper level if we were both sweating together. That's what I'm just saying. I'll just say that, not to make it uncomfortable. He has a nice like short haircut, so his hair dries quickly when he leaves the sauna. But damn, you can tell just by how he refuses to wear a tie and how his two top buttons, but his one is just like really, his shirt's all ruffled. He's like, man, I wish I could be naked now.
Being here, I mean, there have been articles about
who else would be the president of the American Sauna Society? The fuck?
Ditching happy hour for the bathhouse. I mean, this isn't a new thing, but what can you tell us about how growing up with saunas in Finland is different from what we're seeing now?
Listen, saunas in Finland, I have Finnish heritage, and I grew up experiencing Finnish saunas. I remember one of my uncles had a sauna literally built in his lake house. It was crazy. And I remember even then as a kid thinking, this is the gayest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I remember the men, they would sit and they'd be like, the health benefits, it makes me look young. And I'm like, you've all looked 40 since the age of 14. I'm just sorry to say it.
So yeah, we have obviously a huge boom going on, and you can see it here in New York, especially. Like you said, bathhouses, spas are coming out everywhere. I'm going to come to that Finland part soon, but now the problem we are having here right now is that the base of saunas, like the residential saunas, are not that good quality. So many of the people, their first touch to a sauna or sauna is their gym, and it can be like poorly ventilated place, you know, with maybe not that well clean space. So that's a totally different thing than growing up in Finland, because there's a very much culture behind it, and it's not only the hot room that makes the difference. And there's actually a way, I don't know if we have time, but there's a way to explain, like I've been scratching my head for more than 20 years.
Yeah, listen, nothing against Finnish culture or the Finnish people. I am Finnish. I'm not, like, I don't hide it. I don't hide it whatsoever. I'm proud of my heritage. But I will say this. You got these folks who live up in shacks, up in like cabins or whatever in the woods, and they have a sauna built. It's like the most luxurious thing. They brag about it. They got a sauna built. And they know a guy. It's like, oh, I know about Bing Bong. He has a sauna built up at a shack by Strashikala Lake or some shit. And then they're like, okay, let's go check it out. And then as a kid, I was experiencing the sauna, and I would watch them, whatever, they'd tout the health benefits. They'd be like, it makes your skin clean. It makes your hair a certain texture. It's Findians. That's why I'm using the accent. Finnish Indians. It's like people that are of a Finnish descent they either know, like, Indians, which is the term. I'm sorry if I say Indian, and some people go, you should say Native American. Indian is the term that they use on tribal grounds and whatnot. It's just something that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive when I use it, but Findian is a term that I've heard all the time, where it's a Finnish Indian. You grow up around these families and they tell you about the health benefits. Oh my goodness, it makes us all just look so young and whatnot. And you go, okay, I guess I understand it, but like, where do all the pores, open pores come from? Where do all the everything else? Where do all the skin defects come from? And then I watch as they open their pores in this, this hot, sweaty area, and then they go in, and I watch they would open the door, and I would be like, oh, they're catching some of the air from outside. They're catching the nice cold breeze or whatever. And then you watch as this is the reason they're by lakes, they run and they jump from the beach or sometimes off the dock into this gross, sedimenty, like, fish shit infested, like, weeds all over. The ground is just fucking gross. It's just this lake, and then that's why you go, eventually you're like, oh, that's why American saunas don't work. They're used by American people. If you eat like an American, if you behave like an American, if you have American habits of, like, treating your body and whatnot, yeah, okay, that makes sense as to why all the health benefits don't seemingly say they don't work, you know what I mean?
In this country for more than about 30 years, but what I see here is totally different than the Finnish part.
Totally agreed.
What's obviously interesting about that is the thing that Finland has been, by the UN, has been chosen to be the happiest country on earth, which...
Yeah, I want to know something else about that. What percentage of Finland is white? Finland is overwhelmingly white, with around 93 to 97% of the population being identified as ethnically Finnish or white. I'm sorry. Finland, Lithuania, and Israel, these ethno-states, always rank so highly on the World Happiness Index. Let's get a little honest about why the people in those countries are so happy. It's because they're living around people who look exactly like them. Let's be really, really honest.
Makes Finnish people sad because they understand that other people are even more miserable than the Finnish people are.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that again that there's so much more to the culture.
Well, let's talk.
Maybe there's so much more to that culture, that ethno state. Maybe there's something more to that culture that makes people just so gleaming and happy, and just, man, they don't seem to age up there. I'm curious.
The lifestyle. Do you have any concerns with people who start to see there is money to be made?
Well, no, it's fair and square. Alcohol consumption is going down, and from hubbing to tubbing or whatever you want to call it, that's totally fine. But this is a learning process. So we are going towards. At the end of, I strongly believe that at the end of the day, the Americans will be saunabathing like the Finns are, but It's going to take time. So this is one phase in the process. This
yes.
spa, thing.
I think, like a lot of things, Americans are going to fuck it up. We're going to ruin it. Listen, I love that the Finnish people have this culture. They have this thing that, like, it makes them all look very good. It's like it's a practice, you know what I mean? And some other cultures, they'll adapt it. Korea has their own versions of saunas. Japan, they have bathhouses. They have all these sorts of things. What I'm worried about is the American concept of taking things to excess, which is what our people and our culture is so known for. We are known for taking beautiful concepts, and we are known for either bastardizing them, sometimes beautifully. Like, listen, sometimes you come to America with some fun music and we make it into jazz. You know what I mean? We do some fun stuff, admittedly, but I'm worried about bathhouses slowly and quickly. I'm just going to say it because America moves quicker than any other nation sometimes. Sometimes if we're oriented around a common goal, that's going to quickly turn into sex houses, and that's my general worry. I think that bathhouses are going to be code for the new... They're going to be the new... Have you guys seen the Hulu show Harlots? I think it's going to be the 21st century harlots. That's what I'm a little worried about. Culturally, do I think that's a great idea that we have bathhouses in every town, city, whatever? At 18, you're able to immediately go hang around people and be nude and whatnot and sweat your day out, whatever. You know what? I'd say this. Localism, I'm totally in favor of it. If your town wants it, I think you should want it. I think you should have it. That's what I think. Because I believe in truth. I believe in truth the way that Waffle House believes in truth, ladies and gentlemen. They believe in true love. They believe in true love because they are offering a free... Well, not a free. I'm not going to say free. They are offering a promotional dinner they're freely dressing up because you got to make a reservation, but you can pay for your normal meal. But they are doing a special little event where forget whatever candlelit restaurant you were planning on going to. Forget what's that nice one in downtown Fargo? You know, whatever. There's also, you can think of whichever one you're like, I'm gonna take my girl there. Forget wherever you were planning on. Take her to Waffle House, ladies and gentlemen, because hear this plan and you'll be convinced.
Forget candlelit restaurants. This Valentine's Day, Waffle House is stealing the spotlight with a one-of-a-kind romantic dinner. 200 select locations will dim the lights, add white tablecloths and candles, and offer reservation-only seating for February 14th. So spots are filling up fast for this. To grab a table between 5 and 9 p.m., you'll need to call your local Waffle House directly. So to see if your location is included, there's a list posted at fox5atlanta.com. So we want to know, would a Waffle House date on Valentine's Day interest you? Let us know. And download Fox Local for live streaming news and more.
I mean, okay, so if you take your girlfriend to this, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you don't like them very much. That, or you are hoping actively, you are really, 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 really hoping that one or both of you get stabbed. There's no other reason. Everybody knows it. It's not even a joke at this point. You only go to Waffle House to get stabbed, and that's the beauty of it, is that it's a cultural thing we can all agree on. Anyways, well, let's cover our final headline. We'll jump into our last story for the day. The Kenyan presidential campaign is in turmoil in Kenya. Presidential hopeful Dr. Fred Matiang'i has claimed an official break-in was an inside job, reflecting the rising intra-party tensions and the instability in the lead-up to elections. Kenyan presidents, I wasn't sure if they had that sort of a thing there, but I'm glad to hear they have a democracy, not glad to hear that it's not operating very well, ladies and gentlemen. I have a final story. It's kind of an important one, admittedly. It's one that I think we all need to worry about, we need to talk about, so let's just hop right into it. No more dilly-dallying. American nightlife, ladies and gentlemen, how it's dying, how the night out and night out with friends have become nights in and drinking alone. Folks, if you're not aware of this issue, it's either because you're an introvert or not remotely interested in it because you have your own group of fellas that you like to hang around with. But across the country, it's not arguable. American nightlife is quietly fading. What used to be packed bars, busy dance floors, spontaneous nights out with your friends, your buddies, whatever, they're increasingly being replaced by nights in, often drinking alone with a very small circle. Industry data, this is not arguable, and cultural trends point towards a major shift in how people socialize, especially in cities that once defined themselves by their major nightlife scenes. Listen, I'm not saying you have to have sex trafficking and coke in your city in order to be considered a good one. You don't have to be Miami Beach. You don't have to be any place in South Florida. But you have to have something. You have to have a bar. You have to, even if it's called Bismarck's or something, and people play pool there every night. You got to have something. Anyways, according to the U.S. American Time Use Survey data, 15 to 25-year-olds now spend 26 fewer minutes per day socializing in person than they did in 2003. It's about 3 hours less socialization weekly than the earlier generations did the same age. In 2024, younger adults spent even less time socializing than adults 50 plus do for the first time ever. In a related study using the same data, 2003 to 2020, it shows that social engagement with friends, family, and others have decreased while social isolation has increased over time. I want to show you, okay. This is something that it came across my For You page, and I want to show you this. This is maybe one of the most disgusting things I've maybe seen in my life. There is something called the Proof Distillery in Fargo. Seems like a fine enough joint. I wasn't done talking, excuse you. It seems like a fine enough joint. It seems like a den where people can wear cowboy hats and have fun. That's what I love about Fargo, is it teases on the edge of the West, and so you see people wearing cowboy hats now and then. It's the nickname was like Gateway for the West at one point. You see it on some of their logo stuff and whatnot. But there was a dubstep show, if you don't know what dubstep, it's like Skrillex, like it's like all that kind of electro music, whatever. It was big in the 2010s. And there was a dubstep show in Fargo, and the turnout was embarrassing. It's a 21 plus show. It starts at 8:30 and ends at 2 a.m. This was Saturday, January 24th. This turnout is just sad. I'm gonna put this in the description because everybody needs to see this. A woman walks in, 35 something. What the fuck? Like only 20, 35 people maybe. And they're just jumping around in their beanies. Listen, I'm sorry to say it. This is not a bumpin' night. This is not it. This is like sweatily pouring over each other. I hate this kind of atmosphere. Listen, Fargo, I understand that it is a town of drunks in most instances. It's not, but when I'm saying that you're only a few blocks from university, what I'm saying is that you need the college vibes. What I'm saying is that we're leading up to spring break, guys. Come on. I understand that they're trying to lock in. They're trying to lock in right after Christmas break, man. Christmas break really fucked me over, and now I'm finals and whatnot. I got to lock in for this new semester. I'm saying, go out and make the statistics look so much better. Young people are reporting less frequent social interaction and loneliness. Listen. Not less loneliness, more loneliness. God, I'm retarded. OECD research is tracking multiple countries, including the United States. It's finding that young people aged 16 to 24 saw a daily in-person interaction with friends decline from 53% in 2006 to 36% by 2022. I mean, they're the same age range is showing an increase in loneliness and dissatisfaction with relationships. Survey conducted by Ally Bank found that 40% of Gen Z and millennials reported skipping school events due to cost, while 59% said financial goals conflict with their desire to socialize. So, listen, admittedly, cost and financial strain, that's all affecting for young adults and people. We got to address that. Listen. When you are a little bar, I'm just saying this, a $7 beer is not pulling a lot of people in. Not a lot of people are willing to pay that much when they can go buy a case for much cheaper down at the Bottle Barn and then go home and drink alone. Admittedly, it's a lot sadder, but you can put on a show you like. You can sit with the people that you like Joe Rogan. You could sit with the people you like what's that one? Whitney Cummings. You can sit with people you like your favorite podcasts. You know what I mean? And to a lot of people nowadays, with those friendship simulations, that's more appealing to many people. Drinking and nightlife and whatnot, that culture has changed significantly. National Institute on Drug Abuse and Gallup data has showed a share of U.S. adults under the age of 35 who drink alcohol has declined from 72% from 2001 to 2003 to 62% in 2021 to 2023. Listen, am I saying that less people drinking is a travesty? No, of course not. We should never, I'm saying the social lubricant aspect is being lost, and a lot of people are not factoring that into the decisions. Whatever. Loneliness also, that's trending highlight. That the highlight is reduced costs, close social ties and whatnot. OECD data has shown growing loneliness among young adults, with noticeable declines among the share of young people who never feel lonely. A 15 percentage point drop among women in age 16 to 24 between 2018 to 2022, excuse me. There's been a drop in noticeable declines of people who never feel lonely. So that, what I'm trying to do by citing all of these is I'm trying to make the argument that a lot of this I think we can pin on the fact that towns and atmospheres of the average American lifestyle, you go and you look around outside of your house, I imagine that you're not disgusted openly, unless you live in a downtown area, unless you live in a particularly nasty zone. But generally, the average American looks outside and goes, I'm living pretty good. What's it matter? The atmosphere has shifted from let's go out. It's shifted from what's inside. What can we do to make the night fun? You know what I mean? It's gotten so bad that literally, like, brain rot YouTubers like the Infographics Show are making shit about it now.
The American dream is turning into a living nightmare. The skyline no longer shines. Sirens scream through the night. Your favorite hangouts are shutting down, and rent is draining your paycheck. It's time to flee to the suburbs. Or is the urban doom story exaggerated? On today's episode of the Infographics Show, we're looking at why American cities are becoming unlivable. When people picture success, they imagine America's great cities, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, or the bustling metropolises closest to them.
That's
After
hilarious.
All, nothing says you've made it like looking down from your penthouse. But turn on the news and you'll hear a darker story. American cities painted as hell on earth. They're unaffordable, crime-ridden, and more unlivable by the day. But it's just sensationalism. Or are America's cities really falling apart? Visiting America's biggest cities might be fun, but actually living in them is becoming nearly impossible. In the suburbs, a developer can buy an empty lot and build a condo complex that can house 50 families, all without bothering anyone but a few beavers. But in the cities, they're already packed, built out, and running out of room. And many cities haven't made it any easier. Building housing in cities has become increasingly difficult due to a number of factors. For one thing, many cities have a long history, and they like it that way. In many cities, getting a building declared a landmark is surprisingly easy, even if the current owner objects. And that can make it impossible to make any changes to the building structure.
Building codes in general are standing in the way of a lot of either housing being built, new businesses, complexes. I walk around certain areas of downtown Fargo, downtown Minneapolis, downtown Moorhead, and I go, do we really need this? You go to downtown Duluth, because I'm sorry to say it, downtown Duluth is a real big mess. It's about 6 or 7 streets that are aligned exactly parallel with the lakeside. So, and then, by the way, all of the roads that run parallel to those roads are on a straight, 45-degree decline down the hill. So downtown downtown Duluth is one of the worst places to navigate, personally, for me, although I do love that city and I would be happy to die there. It's a very good place, I'm not gonna lie. Whatever. I just, listen, the downtowns of most places, a lot of people just don't want to head there because they either feel unsafe, they feel like, oh, I'm going to the Fargo Theater because they're having a showing of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie or some shit. I don't know. But I can't bring my kids to see Michael Bay's Magic because, unfortunately, there's 6 people with coats on that are just sitting in front of the door that I'm like, the employees are not even bothering to move these fuckers. They're not bothering to get them out of the way. And then you go to your favorite restaurants, you go to your favorite areas in the, maybe I'll go get a charcuterie board. Maybe I'll go get a dinner at this one spot. And then you see a guy who clearly does not work construction, wearing a construction vest that he picked up off of some site because there's, that construction site, that new, whatever building that's getting put up. I can't remember. I think it's near, is it 3rd Avenue North? I can't remember. But they clearly just picked it up off the ground and it looks filthy. And then he harasses you before you've even gotten out of your car. So listen, at that point, people just go, fuck it. I'll go to the Target in South Fargo because fuck it. I'm not going to be bothered to actually navigate through these hordes of vagrants that quite frankly, I think law enforcement, I think Hunger Games wouldn't be far enough. I think that Hunger Games, like, listen, like, troops, what I say that I'm going to write a letter to Donald Trump, and I'm going to say the place that you shouldn't be sending all of those ICE agents, it's not the cities in Minneapolis and whatnot. Let them deal with the Somalis. They clearly like them. But over here in Fargo, we got a real issue. Downtown, it's being ravaged by homeless people that, listen, they have no papers. You can deport them easy. Say that they're from Canada, whatever. Send them to Ontario. They'll love them. They have institutions built for these people. Whatever.
Even if a building isn't frozen in time, local residents can object to proposed developments, and it can be a long, slow process to get it approved, leaving many projects in limbo, leading some developers to pack up. And the competition is fiercer than ever. Not only does everyone need a place to live, but cities have been hit hard by one major innovation in the housing and hospitality world in recent years: Airbnb.
I hate Airbnb so very much. I've stayed in Airbnbs. I have routinely felt like I was being watched, observed by some deviant who had like a camera embedded in something. That's why you can't take showers in them. Sorry to say it. I'd be more comfortable using the hose outside.
Short-term rental apps let people turn empty properties into mini hotels. So corporations swooped in, buying units just to rent them out. And that drained the housing supply even further. Cities like New York have since cracked down, banning Airbnb in many units. But rents haven't bounced back. And no matter how you choose to house yourself in the city, you're in for a rough time. If you want a house or an apartment in the big city, good luck. The rates of property ownership in many cities have gotten so high that only the rich can afford it. In New York, the median home price listing was $829,000.
See, this is why people that are looking to, you want to live privately. I don't care what you're doing. You could be smoking weed. You could be dealing drugs. You could be, polishing a gun that maybe you don't have a permit for. Whose business is it? Live in the burbs. The burbs are the best spot because guess what? Suburbia, barely anything happens. Occasionally you'll have a crazy neighbor. Maybe she gives the black people in the neighborhood a rough time. Maybe she like hates kids playing on her yard. Maybe she eventually kills one of their moms. And then eventually she gets an Oscar-nominated documentary made about her. Look it up. It's fantastic. I watched it this weekend. Maybe the burbs are an area where some shit goes down sometimes, but admittedly, people keep their noses out of each other's businesses. Listen, I've lived apartment life. People do not keep it to their own business. I'm sorry to say it. But listen, when you make your business my business by yelling at your girlfriend so loud that I can hear it, that like I'm concerned and I gotta call the cops, or if your Doberman is yelling 3 a.m. hours into the night, what else am I supposed to do except for get involved? I'm angry. Folks, I would say this: live in the burbs and ruin those areas of town because they have yet to be ruined. A lot of the times, if it's only accessible by car, a lot of people can't even afford cars nowadays. So that's the beauty of it. It's true exclusivity. If you have a working car and you want to live a decent life, choose an apartment building or a nice little duplex on like a nice little, maybe like you're 10 minutes from the heart of downtown. It's actually better in those areas. Because guess what? You can make the culture of your little neighborhood the funnest aspect. You can be like, hey, I live in like fucking Fargo, but I live in, Bluemont Lakes, that little area where the apartment buildings are around the fucking lakes and whatnot. Oh, I live in Fargo, but I live in, I live in, Frontier, that little town down south. Oh, I live in Moorhead, but I live in Dilworth. Dilworth is its own goddamn town where they have like individual units and things like that. Like you can get your own Millhouse, essentially. Not Millhouse from The Simpsons, haha, whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I enjoyed putting these stories together for you. I look forward to the rest of this week. We have Tuesday all the way through Friday. You know how it goes. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it. You know how it goes. I have been happy to be your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. Thank you for listening to Your Brain on Air. I'll catch you in tomorrow's broadcast. In the meantime, bye-bye.